As there's a drive in a deep left field by Castellanos, it will be.
Oh man, it's 8 o'clock.
And so that'll make it a.
I don't need the spotlight. I shine just fine.
Hi, I'm Karma, and yes, I am a bitch.
Brav Bros. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Brav Bros, your favorite podcast from the bros for everybody, for whoever wants to listen. I am your co-host, Steele Russell, joined as always by the one and only Scoots Magoots. What's up, dude?
I think last week we started off the episode by saying stick a fork in them. What's the next level to that? Because I don't know what to do.
Well, here's the thing, and we discussed this last week as well. Our people listen to our RHONY recaps. Whether they're watching or not is somewhat irrelevant. So it's one of those, we had to do this with OC last year, not this year. This season's been phenomenal, but it does appear that we're going to have to grin and bear this season. So I'm trying my best to look at the upsides, and that's the hardest part because there are none. So I don't know what you do after you stick a fork in it. I guess just put it out to pasture, as they say. But it's tough. It's just, I think I've figured out what my biggest issue with it is, because some of the storylines are not different than what we see on other Housewives shows. Like I've noticed that, where it's shopping and, it's some other little shit that they're just bopping around. And we're used to that in Housewives shows. I think the major difference that stands out to me with RHONY this season specifically is they haven't done enough to make us connect with the characters. Like I'm not invested enough in any of these women on the show to give a shit about them going shopping, to watch them go about their day-to-day business. There's other shows where I care about the characters. So like when they do mundane stuff, I'm like, oh, that's fun. Like a little family scene, like, oh, they're going shopping. Like, oh, it's like them at their business. Like this is a nice little break from the usual. But I don't care enough about this cast. So when we're doing other things, I really don't care. And then we have no big payoff moments to really get me invested. And when you get to scenes where, once again, we've said this multiple times, there's hints, there's inklings of this would be a good storyline, or, ooh, push that. They never do. So they're not giving me anything to sink my teeth into. I don't care enough about each individual character to really want to dive into their personal lives. So it's kind of this weird middle ground where I'm just watching people on TV go about their daily business. And I don't have a whole lot of free time in my day. I don't really want to watch people just like live. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, you've got Twitter rabbit holes to go down. That was the nice way to put it.
Yeah.
I'm going to put it a different way. This show fucking sucks. They're boring as shit. It's not that they're not doing enough for us to get invested. I'm convinced that they all are just boring as shit. It's like watching paint dry. There's nothing here. And producers, by the way, if producers are listening to us, which why would you if you were a producer? Because we just rip on you all the time anyway. Unless you're Salt Lake producers, because the Salt Lake producers do a great job.
They're doing a great job.
They do things that other franchises just don't do.
I'll give OC some props too.
Yeah, OC's been getting better too. But
Miami,
the main difference between OC, like you brought up last year was a hate watch. It wasn't a boring watch. It was I can't stand Tamara. We know what she's doing, and there's not enough going on. And it's just like mean for the sake of being mean and toxicity and this and that and whatever. It just pained us to watch it because that's not what we like to watch. And a lot of people did enjoy it. That's what it is, whatever. And they liked listening to our recaps because we hated it. But It wasn't boring. There was stuff to talk about. This episode is the epitome of what RHONY is now. It's fucking nothing. They started this episode off with something that I had to replay 15 times because I thought that my Peacock was broken, thinking that it was going back to the first episode. Why are we being introduced to everybody? Why are we having Jessel fucking narrate and say, hey, my group of friends is unorthodox and they're goofy and they're fun. And I'm like, is this the first episode? What's going on here? Why are we doing this? I'm not kidding you. I restarted it 5 times thinking that Peacock was broken. It wasn't.
Wait, which episode did you watch? It started with Psy.
Oh, maybe it was Psy. I don't care.
Okay. No. You just scared me because I'm like, oh, fuck.
Oh,
did you actually watch
I thought for some reason I thought it was Jessel. You know what? Who cares? I don't care. I just do not care who it
It
is.
starts with Cy homesteading, and I'm like, here we go.
Oh,
like,
no. You're right. You are right. Cy was homesteading. She was talking about Whole Foods and how much money she's spending at Whole Foods, which, by the way, wasn't that fucking much. I can't spend a couple $100. Like, people spend a couple $100 at Whole Foods. That's not crazy. A housewife is supposed to spend $700 at Whole Foods. Make it interesting for us. But still, this episode, maybe you just glossed over it. I can't, because I fucking hate it. Started off with Jessel talking about her group of friends and how fucking unorthodox they are. No, your group of friends is boring and you guys aren't actually friends. The show stinks. I'm not kidding, every commercial break ended with coming up, and it's Erin and Jenna. What happened with Erin and Jenna?
Nothing.
Fucking nothing. Why are you?
But it could have.
It could have, sure. If you guys were fucking normal and actually knew how housewives shows work, there was legitimately nothing to talk about this entire fucking episode. What are we doing? We're doing the same thing that we did for the last 3 episodes. Well, maybe we could do this. I'm tired of you and I sitting here saying, maybe if they did this, it could have been better, because they're not listening. They don't know what they're doing. They have no idea. 2 straight men sitting here talking about housewives know how to be a housewife better than these fucking people that were picked to be housewives. That's insane. That makes no sense. And we are usually wrong. We're idiots. This is ridiculous. This show is so goddamn boring. I'd rather watch paint dry. I would rather paint this wall right in front of me right now and stare at it and watch it dry, and it would be more interesting than this fucking show. So there you go.
Hey, Steele, settle down, dude.
Yeah, dude. I like it. It's not, again, it's not like OC last year where it was painful for us to watch it because we just didn't like talking about Tamara the entire time because she was annoying to us. I don't care about anybody here. I just don't. Like, nobody speaks to me. Last year, it was like, oh, well, Jessel could be a rising star. I'm not giving Jessel the benefit of the doubt anymore and saying
She's not doing anything.
Yeah, she's not doing shit. Like, if you're going to be a rising star, step up and give us a storyline. You and Pavitt sitting down talking about whatever isn't doing enough for me. No one else is doing anything. The whole cast needs to go off somewhere, get off of our TVs, maybe just shut down RHONY for like 3 years, and hopefully we forget about it, because this is worse than whatever the hell the legacy cast was doing at the end of their stint.
With that being said, why don't we jump into this week's episode?
God.
Unfortunately, like I said, if you baby birds are going to listen, we will continue to watch this show. But yeah, I mean, that's 2 different ways to put it, but it's the same end result. It's just they're not doing anything. It's a bummer, you know, but we're not going to do this every week where we sit and mourn the loss of RHONY. It's just, I don't know what your next steps are. And we saw another thing come out that says they had to end filming early due to conflict in the cast, which doesn't make any sense unless it's something that you can't come back from. Because it's like,
good.
How bad could it possibly have been? Because we've yet to see any conflict. Moment after moment arises where it's like, okay, get into it. And they don't. They sidestep it. They try to squash it. And it all goes back to the same thing that we say all the time with this show. Everyone's so concerned about how they come off. How do I look? How is this going to affect my public image, my business, this, that, and the other? Which, look, in the real world, those are valid concerns, right? Like, that's not crazy to want to worry about your public image, especially when you're a public figure. But when you sign your contract of Real Housewives of New York on Bravo, you know that you're signing up for reality TV on a reality TV network that is known for being ridiculous. Like, that's what we want. That's why we like these shows. And we've yet to have a scene. What are we, 4 episodes in? Was this number 4?
We could be 6 episodes in, and I wouldn't know.
I think it's 4 episodes in. And can you point to one real conflict that we have had to discuss yet? Like something tangible, not Ubah and Brynn or Ubah and Cy, where we're not really sure like exactly what we know, that Ubah doesn't trust Brynn, right? Like that's the gist of it, but we don't know where it's going. Is there going to be resolve? Like it's not enough to sink your teeth into there. Jenna sidesteps everything. We watch her do it later this episode. It's just everybody wants to come off looking like they are not messy or not a shit starter or just like normal. And that's fine if that's what you want to do. That's do it somewhere else, not on a TV show.
I would kill for us to have a situation in which you and I sat here and said, can you guys please resolve it already? Because this feud is dragging on for too long. They're not.
Yeah, we're not going to get that.
We don't even know what it is. It's genuinely just you guys aren't friends. You don't see eye to eye. You're not conversing outside of the show. So yeah, maybe somebody is like Erin is blindly thinking, "Oh my God, Jenna's my friend." It's like she's not your friend. You guys filmed together. That's why she's not reaching out to you during the week. It's not that she's a bad texter. It's not that she's a bad communicator. She just doesn't care about you. You're a fucking coworker. Like that's what it is. And watching this show every week and sitting here talking about it is sort of like if you really like your job and your boss comes over to you and you work in an office and your boss comes over and says, "Hey, we need you to archive all of our old files alone in a back room for the next week." That's what it feels like to do this part of our job. I love talking about Salt Lake. I love talking about Salt Lake. I love talking about OC. I love talking about Potomac. I like talking about all the other shows that are on Bravo. Then when we sit down and I have to sit down and actually watch RHONY, I question myself and say, why am I doing this? Why are we watching this? This show fucking sucks.
I thought you meant the podcast and you're like, Jesus.
No, dude, no. It's just like, why is anybody putting themselves through this? Like, I don't understand. And I'm pretty sure the people that are listening to this, they don't watch it anymore. They gave up on it.
Quite a few people comment and let us know that they don't watch. They just like to listen to our recaps. Yeah.
They like our recaps because they like to hear us rant.
So you have us trapped in this limbo of not being able to stop watching because you keep listening.
Yeah, because
you're supporting us.
We're in pain.
Yeah, so it's like sadistic support.
Yeah, and honestly, that's how we would reference last year doing OC. This feels so much worse. I would give my left arm to watch last year's OC as this year's RHONY because it's still that much better.
No, I agree. But look, we will do our job. We'll do it intently every time. We will vent beforehand so that you know how we feel, but that doesn't mean it's going to take away from our recaps. But just be forewarned, there's not a whole lot to talk about this episode. so
we've got guys shopping for some plants, and Steele and I are going to give our power rankings on plants that you can buy. That's where we are.
Number one, first and foremost, is herbs. Herbs are the best. Get your herb garden set up, ready to go. What's great about herbs is you can grow them in your kitchen, and they will spice up any meal. No pun intended.
What? I could talk about my home improvement stuff that I've been doing for the last 2 weeks, and it would be more interesting than this. I put up a couple of floating shelves. I got some. I got a string of pearls. You ever seen those plants that like come down and it's got like the little balls on it?
You got some ball plants, dude?
I got some ball plants. Yeah,
nice,
it's over my couch. It looks fucking fantastic.
That's cool.
That's more important than this shit. But let's get into this episode. Let's talk. I feel like
you just wanted to brag about your plants real quick. I think that you kind of shoehorned that in.
Plant Daddy? Yeah.
Plant Eddie? Platty?
Wait, hold on. First off, we talked about your garden for like 6 weeks.
I was just fucking with you.
A little bit of time to talk about.
I was just fucking with you. I'm looking at my garden right now, by the way, which is
good.
No, it's confused as to what to do because one day it's 40 degrees and the next day it's 90. So
am I.
Yeah, same. Yeah, we're all plants, you know. But yeah, let's jump in, and like I said, we start with Cy homesteading, which whatever. But we find out that her aunt is coming to visit. We've met Aunt Sophia in the past, and they are spreading her mom's ashes. Finally, this is in following with Cy's journey of self-healing and trying to be a better person, and she's been holding on to the ashes for a while. So here's the thing about this is so funny because this is what my reference was to earlier, where it's like this is not like things that we haven't seen in the Housewives realm before. And I think that in a season of other people firing on all, let's say the rest of the cast was doing their job, I think there would be a place for Cy to have this come to peace journey. But because nobody else on this cast is doing anything, this journey is going to fall short because it's like, no, we actually need the Cy of old to come in and start some shit. We need you to go back to your roots at least a little bit to try to start fucking with some people because you're being peaceful and everybody else doesn't want to tap in. So now we don't care about your peace journey and you're not bringing anything else to the table for us. And that's a problem. And I'm not trying to take away from this episode or her spreading her mom's ashes and all that. Like it was an emotional scene and it was touching to watch, but her search for Zen could not come at a worse time for this show. Let's just say that.
Like, what are you doing? Did you think I mean, maybe she's just trying to make her life better and like be
Which is
happier.
great. That's great. It's just it's bad
not on a
timing
healthy
because
show.
no one else is doing anything, and you actually would have done a lot of favors being messy like you were last year. Like at least we'd have somebody doing something. But let's keep moving. We get to Jessel and Pavitt. And Pavitt, I've looked at these, and this is the kind of things we're going to talk about today because of the lack of other shit. The AI glasses.
Oh,
Have
yeah.
you looked into those at all?
No.
I went down a little rabbit hole with them. They're kind of cool. I don't know if I trust them. You know what I mean? Well, this technology is getting a little too highfalutin for me, but you can be like, "Hey, what's up?" and it'll like answer questions, and it'll have like augmented reality in the future where you can like see things.
Yeah,
That's kind of cool.
the only thing that I can think of which would be cool is you remember when we had 3D TVs back in the day?
I thought they were the dumbest thing in the world, but yeah.
Yeah, well, for whatever reason, I don't remember why, but my family got a 3D TV the one year, and it was a Christmas gift, and it was really cool. There were only like a couple of movies that you could watch. I think HBO had a live channel that was 3D, and it was basically you just put on the glasses and it would get a little blurry. The only really cool thing that came from it, and look, the resolution on the rest of it was awesome. The resolution on actual HD was fantastic for the time. The only thing that was cool was ESPN did it for the finals that year, and you could watch the NBA finals, and it was like you were like on the court watching it, and it was like moving around in the room. That was sick. I would do that with those glasses. I would not ask any personal questions though. I don't want any.
Big brother, right?
Yeah.
And I look when the 3D TVs came out. I don't want to sound too high and mighty. I thought they sounded cool until I put on the glasses and looked. I was like, oh, this is dumb. It was the same. Remember the curved TVs? That was a big thing for a while. Like, yeah, they try to do all these wacky things and still ended up just being like remakes of a plasma. But anyway, the whole scene sets up the Clueless birthday party that we're having later. And that's pretty much it. And the next 4 scenes are kind of nothing because you get Brynn with her weird friendship with Gideon FaceTiming. Abe and Erin are at a coffee shop and everything seems really tense between these two.
He spills coffee on her.
He spills coffee on her. Yeah, but you can just tell like where they're at in their relationship in that scene because he spills it and she's like, it's almost another thing. Like, Jesus, buddy. Like, I'm so sick of just you being you. Can you get your coffee together?
Bitcoin? Like, what are you gonna do here?
Yeah, you can't even buy another cup of coffee because we're out of Bitcoin, you fucker. Like, the point is like that you can tell that tensions are still a little high, and that's all you get from that. But Jenna is starting a new editor-in-chief role at Covetor, I believe it's called. It's a new online magazine. And again, this is what I'm talking about. I want to know this kind of stuff when I'm invested in a character. If I'm invested in you as a housewife, I want to see you do cool shit like this, right? Like you're an editor-in-chief of an online magazine. I don't know how that works. You're a high-powered fashion icon, whatever. Take us down this rabbit hole with you. Talk about this. I want to hear about this, but I don't care about. Yeah, I know that's the word of the day. You got me stuck on it, but I would want to know about that. But because I have no skin in the game, because I don't care, I'm just watching the scene. Like I don't know anybody in this room. Yeah, this is cool. You're going to be an editor-in-chief here, but why do I care? Because at the same time, you're doing your job here as the editor-in-chief. But I know that when push comes to shove, and it's supposed to get into a dramatic anything later, or you need to stand your ground or say your piece, you're not going to. So like this scene's, it's not like other shows where you get a payoff scene or a reprieve scene, because that's what this show is. That's a great way to put it, because we talk about reprieves on other shows all the time. We need those breaks, you need those breathers. The drama's too heavy. Let's take a little break and check in with a family, check in at a job, check in on something. This whole show is just reprieve scenes after reprieve scenes. There's no drama in between. It's all just the light shit. That doesn't work on a housewife show.
No, I mean, like, I would disagree that it's not necessarily a reprieve. I like seeing it, and this goes back to because I'm actually rewatching RHONY season 7 right now, and I'm gonna say when Bethany would go off on somebody and be an absolute asshole and an absolute terror, and that show worked perfectly because they were all so mean to each other, but they all still cared about each other, and it was fucking great. And then you would have a scene where Bethany would have a fucking summit for her brand, for her corporation, for her LLC, and sit down with a bunch of other people representing different brands. And it's like, that's really fucking awesome that you just ripped Dorinda apart the night before. and made her fucking cry or something. And then the next morning you're walking into a summit and sitting down with other like heads of companies talking about what you're going to do in a marketing team. Like that is really fun. If Jenna were to do that and go to a party and make Brynn cry and be fucking ruthless towards somebody and get into a fight and say, you know what, I don't give a shit, and then walk away. And then the next morning she's sitting down and she's like, yeah, I'm the editor at large for this company. And then we get to see what she's doing during the day. Like that's really fun. That's awesome
that's
for me
point.
because you can separate the two. We don't have any of that here. There's just nothing here.
That's a good way. That's a perfect way to put it. You're right. But let's keep going. We get to Ubah and Raquel, and Ubah wanted to make another impression because she doesn't like how she came off at the Hampton house previously. So she invites Raquel over to share some of her artwork, which I will say, honestly, genuinely, I like some of Ubah's paintings. Like when they showed those, I was like, I would hang that in my house. I would hang that in my house as well. And she talks about, which is interesting timing, like the U.S. and freedom and all of those beautiful things this country represents. Obviously, we have a big day coming up on Tuesday that I am losing sleep over already. But hey, that's not what this podcast is about. No. So let's just keep going. But they talk about her modeling career, and I thought it was really interesting to hear these two discuss their similar experiences in this is one of the few scenes where I got something from. And lo and behold, Raquel's part of it. And I think that we can both agree one of the small glimmers of anything positive this season has been Raquel, because she is super interesting and seems really cool. So when she was on the screen, at the very least, I popped my head up from my phone briefly so I could watch what was going on.
Yeah.
But it was interesting to hear both of their experiences entering the modeling world back in, the 90s or the 80s, and being a person of color in that industry and finding out that each agency only had one black model, and Ubah's trying to crack into the scene. The difficulties that they both faced, they both overcame, and they're both, Ubah's an extremely successful model. Raquel is an extremely successful art curator. So hearing them come through what they've been through and get out on top is awesome. So that was a really cool scene. And they bring up what was referenced last week with Brynn's comment about not wanting Ubah to come off as the angry black woman. And Raquel speaks on it and says, the interesting part about this is she triggered you and then wanted to call you the angry black woman. Mm-hmm. And, obviously this is a sensitive topic, especially coming from two white guys. So the only thing I'll say on it is watching Brynn throw that accusation out, right? Whether she has Ubah's best interest at heart or not, to me, by saying that, just bringing that up on TV, you're pointing the finger in that direction. You're calling attention to that rather than allowing for a moment where Ubah got activated and it's just Ubah being activated. Now it's like sprinkling on top, alluding to the angry black woman. And I feel like that was a decision by Brynn to point that finger. I feel like that's a low blow. And I feel like that's a dangerous game to play. And again, as two white dudes, we only have so much to say on the topic, but that's what I gathered from it.
Yeah.
And it appeared that Raquel did too a little bit.
Yeah, and Brynn activating Ubah and getting her into a point where she gets so upset, because looking back, Brynn didn't exactly back down. She just eventually had it and just said, I'm not going to continue doing it.
I agree. I also felt that Ubah overreacted to it. I didn't think it was that deep.
For sure. But pointing the finger and doing that at that point in time is manipulative and toxic. So you're not coming from, if you're trying to piss her off and being mean to her, you're not coming from a place of concern and care saying, hey, don't do that because you could be labeled as this right in front of a camera. Maybe you can, if you want to say that and you want to do it from a place of care and say, hey, be cognizant of the cameras around here and how you're going to look, because I don't want you to be labeled like this in the future when this airs. You do it behind a closed door. You go to the bathroom with her and whisper it. You know what I mean? You're not doing it to be a good friend. You're doing it because that's your last card to play, and maybe that'll get her to stop doing what she's doing. And that's just a shitty way to do it.
Yeah, that's well said. That's a conversation behind closed doors. Hey, just a heads up. That's not something you say in a fucking confessional weeks after the fact, by the way, where we've had time to think about it. So Raquel does say, why don't you guys talk about it? And I'm like, yes. Let's have a discussion, force the issue. Let's make people talk about things. And it was like, absolutely not. I'm not doing that. I'm like, great. Then we are going nowhere. No one's going to resolve anything or get into conflict with each other. And that's actually the thing. It's not even that they're not going to resolve anything. In my head, I'm going, they're not going to talk about it. They're going to come face to face at some point. And it might explode, it might not, but they're going to brush this under the rug and move on, because that's all we've seen from everybody on this show. We're going to watch it happen in about 15 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
It happens again between Jenna and Erin.
Uh-huh.
It's a theme. It's a recurring cycle. And when I can predict the show week after week after week, when drama starts, I don't care anymore. I need something new. I need excite me. God damn it. I want to watch something exciting.
I need shit to pop off. I need something to come up that hasn't come up in a while, that we never really got an answer to, or we never really got a resolution to it. That's still kind of a burning question. Things like that need to resurface. I don't even know why you two are mad at each other. I don't even know why Sai and Brynn are mad at each other, or Sai and Erin, or fucking Erin and Jenna goes back to an Uber. Like, none of it makes any sense.
Oh my God.
It's just all stupid fucking feuding and innocuous bullshit. And it just keeps coming back to the point that they're not really friends. They're just not close. They have no similar interests. It's like they just picked different people from New York and said, let's see what happens here. It's like a melting pot and we'll be able to see how it unfolds. No, they're just not getting close because they don't give a shit about each other. All they care about is their own self-image. So they're not willing to go the extra mile. And when somebody steps on the other person's foot, it's an issue for a second. And then we don't really know what we're fighting about. And then instead of having a sit down lunch, like, hey, why don't you come over to my house and we'll fucking have it out and figure it all out.
Watch Gina yell at Jen in a coffee shop, right? Over a mortgage. Like, it seems like that. Like,
or you know what, like what we just watched in Salt Lake, where you're going to have Heather come over to Bronwyn's house, and we know that these two don't like each other. And I'm expecting it to be, you know what, we've got a cast trip coming up. So of course they're going to apologize and Heather's going to end up going. No, it takes a complete left turn because Heather will just not take responsibility for any of her actions. And Bronwyn's like, well, what the fuck then? Yeah, you're not coming on the cast trip. Those times, yeah, I know it's bullshit that we're not having somebody on a cast trip, but those things pop up in good franchises because we don't expect it. When we do think, oh shit, this is going to get resolved because they're going to go on a trip together, and it doesn't happen, it's like, oh, whoa, that was unexpected. And in this show, it's just like, I just don't understand it. Like the very first commercial break, it's like Erin and Jenna are going to have it out. And they did it for like the first season trailer. Like all the things that happened during the season trailer have really come out already. And they're nothing. They're just nothing. They just end up being nothing. They're started by nothing. In the middle, it's just two people in separate rooms talking about each other. And they're not really saying anything aside from, I don't really want to be friends with this person. Well, that doesn't really work for a TV show that's formatted like this. It's just, there's just nothing there. And I can't say it enough. There's just nothing here. You've got nothing to cook with. And at the end of the first season, you maybe had Jessel. Maybe she can be a star. Maybe everybody else is just trying to find their footing and they're going to figure it out in the second season. And right now, 4 or 5 episodes in, they haven't learned anything. They've actually taken a step back. They're worse than they were last year.
The funniest part is, you mentioned it's all trivial shit. Shows work with trivial arguments because the cast members are willing to go all in on a trivial argument. Sometimes those are the best ones because we at home are like, why do you care about this so much? It doesn't mean anything. But regardless of the topic, whether it's trivial or real, nobody wants to go past a certain point. And that's where the problem is, honestly. But Sai's upstate and they plant a tree in honor of her mother. It's the ash tree. Like I said, this was a touching scene and an emotional scene. And again, in a season where there was more going on, I think this would have played. Not that this is a play, like obviously this is a touching moment. I just mean her journey as a whole. I do believe because she's being vulnerable in certain scenes, this may have worked in a different franchise. It may have worked on a different show, but because of how this is going currently, it's like it's just more of the same. It's just not a lot happening. It's personal growth, great, but the group's not involved at all. But we keep trucking and we get Brynn, Erin, and Jessel, and they're shopping for the Clueless party. And they start discussing Sai and Jenna hanging out. And you can tell, I think the root of most of it here is not so much that Erin actually has a problem with Sai and Jenna being friends. Erin is jealous of Sai and Jenna being friends because over the past however long, and I do think that Erin felt like she was closer to Jenna than Jenna thought she was with Erin.
Right.
I don't know why. Like, I'm not sure what Erin got from that friendship, but I do
just like hopeful dreams. I think that she
Probably, because
kind
remember
of
last
talked
year she
herself
was
into it.
very much attached to the idea
Uh-huh.
of like being friends with Jenna Lyons. Like that
Yep.
was a big sticking point for her. So I think that it meant more to her or seemed deeper than it did to Jenna. So I think
Right.
Jenna was genuinely at the end of the episode somewhat taken aback to learn that Erin had these feelings.
Mm-hmm.
But for Erin to talk at length about this friendship that Sai and Jenna have started to pursue,
Mm-hmm.
her whole thing is like, well, like she went around saying that she, she heard that Sai was talking shit, saying that she didn't like her at all, this, that, and the other thing. It's like that might be true, Erin, but is it possible that after Sai had apologized for that, and Jenna being an adult and Sai being an adult decided, hey, we can move on from this. Let's attempt to, because we're on a TV show together and maybe we can find a friendship here. Is it that deep? Or is it just your jealousy shining through because you want a friendship with Jenna Lyons and she hasn't checked in with you in months and you're going through it in a lot of different aspects of your life, which I can empathize. But at the same time, this doesn't seem like Jenna's being a bad friend necessarily. It seems like you're a little peanut butter and jealous of her friendship with Sai because you want that friendship with Jenna.
I think that she's miscalculating what Jenna and Sai even have. I bet you
That too, yeah.
I think Jenna and Sai are very much surface level. I'm pretty sure most of Jenna's friends on here, aside from Raquel, when we see her in a scene with Raquel, it seems very genuine. It seems very real. It seems like
seems
they're
real.
actually real friends. You see her in a conversation with Sai, and it's very surface level, which is how Jenna is with everybody on the cast, and it's how she was with Erin last year. I think that's part of it. And the other side of it is Erin talked herself into the idea that the two of them were close and they've never been more than surface level friends because she wanted it so much, because she wanted to be able to say, that's one of my good friends, Jenna Lyons, because people know her. I think that's really what Erin wanted. And now that Erin is going through tough times and she has a lot going on with Abe, with her mom, with her dad, and all the things that are going on, she thinks that Jenna is close enough to her that she's going to reach out and say, hey, I know you've got a lot going on. What's going on with you? Are you okay? But Jenna has never shown her that she's actually more than a surface level friend. So I think it's a misidentification for Erin saying, yeah, we're really close friends. And they're not. They're just not. So I don't even blame Jenna for not reaching out because it's not like she did that before, at least from the sounds of it. It doesn't sound like
we don't. I mean, I don't know, right? Like, we don't know what kind of text they used to send. I don't think it's crazy for Erin to be like, you could have at least texted me. Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. Fine. Run with that.
Yeah.
Right.
I think she wants
okay, great.
Out by saying, like, I don't even know if I want to be friends with Jenna anymore.
That's where it
Like,
starts to take a different.
Yeah.
Right,
so Jessel and Brynn look over and say, well, yeah, you know what? If she's not going to be a good friend and reach out to you, which they don't do, by the way, we get nobody ever crosses lines. Nobody ever firmly takes a stance on one side or the other. They're always just floating around. There's too many of them just not picking sides. Like, you need to pick sides. I'm sorry, but you need to say, yeah,
you need some teams here.
We need teams, and we never want teams, but we need teams for this show.
Yes.
So let's draw a line in the sand and say, you know what? You hurt my friend's feelings. I'm going to go after you now too. And then you develop some teams, and then you guys go after it for a little bit. That's
what
you need.
Somebody call Bo Deedle.
Yeah,
call Bo Deedle. Let's dig up some dirt, and let's get messy. Let's just get messy and see what happens.
It's just, and again, this is now the 4th week of us doing this, that we're trying to do their jobs for them. We're trying to point out what you can do better. And it's just, they haven't learned anything.
No. And it's a bummer, but the only bright spot or hopeful point I can look at and be like, maybe there's something here in regards to teams, at least. These three sitting down chit-chatting seem to be like Brynn, Erin, and Jessel. I've gotten to a point with some of the other women in the group where they're like, I don't care about them. Fuck them. Like Ubah, Sai, Jenna, like, we don't need them. I love you girls. I'm like, if you stood by that, that would be a different story. But I know that when the whole group's together, you're going to change your tune, which would be fine as well if somebody else in the group called that out and said, whoa, 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 you just said that she sucked ass 10 minutes ago, and now you're buddy with her. What the fuck? We need that person on this show. We don't have that person.
To do, and Brynn got knocked down.
Yeah, she got smoked for it. So, but you need that person that's going to create a mess, and nobody's willing to get dirty.
And it's also that they're not really talking, like, they're all talking about their own personal problems. I mean, Jessel's just talking about her party. Jessel's just talking about, like, how many costume changes she's going to have and what they're going to be serving and what else is going on. Brynn is sitting there talking about Ubah and Erin sitting there talking about Jenna. They're not like connecting the dots. They're not saying, well, yeah, you know what? I also didn't really like how Jenna was supporting Ubah. Not that that even happens, but I don't like that that's happening. And then you see Brynn and Erin, who, you know, they've been at odds before, coming together and saying, yeah, you know what? Maybe they're too close and we need to break them up, or we need to see what's going on, because I heard Ubah say something about Jenna. Like, none of that is happening. They're just sitting on this couch talking about their own problems and nobody's really agreeing. They're asking very like initial questions.
They're just all saying what their grievances are with no real offering of help or guidance. It's just, this is what I'm upset about. Okay, here's what I'm upset about. Oh, that's cool. I'm upset about this. Yeah, it's all just it's all going left and right. But we get to the Clueless party, and I will say Jenna as the dad was funny. I appreciated that, and I always will appreciate Pavitt just being Pavitt, where, you know, the day before her birthday, he's like, so what do you want? Like, what can I get you for your birthday? She's like, too late. And then for him to go on the Hallmark rant, the classic Hallmark rant about holidays, where all holidays are just schemes by the greeting cards companies. Don't get me started about Valentine's Day. Pavitt will continue to be entertaining, and I can appreciate.
All right, so since there's not a lot here, let's talk about our favorite. Who was best dressed?
The Clueless wise?
Yeah.
Oof. I mean, if you're going off of looking the most like the outfit in the movie,
Sai,
I thought, I was like, did you buy that costume from like the studio? Because that was spot on.
Be careful.
Right. We can't call them costumes. Bronwyn will get pissed. It's fashion. She was the most authentic, just outfit wise. As far as most enjoyable, most creative, I think Jenna as the dad.
Yeah.
And then everyone else just kind of I think they all did well, except for Rebecca Minkoff. Of course, the Scientologist shows up in funeral garb.
Yeah, she's doing so much.
She
really ruined her fucking apple. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, bro. It's insane. But the rest, I think, did fine. I think everybody understood the assignment.
Nobody dressed up as Brittany Murphy. What the hell?
That's a good point. Yeah, that's a big omission. We even got a fucking Paul Rudd reference.
I know.
Not even a Brittany Murphy. Yeah.
Abe didn't even, he was supposed to wear the flannel, and Erin told him not to wear the flannel.
Erin told him not to, but that would have made it more, he would have been more in character.
Yeah, see, I've got issues with this. I've got issues with so many things in this show. Let your fucking husband wear a flannel. It's a costume party.
Especially if it fits the narrative, because Paul Rudd did, in fact, have flannels on in Clueless.
It's a 90s movie. Of course he did.
Everyone had flannels.
Yeah.
You had to own a flannel in the 90s. That was part of the attire. Everyone knows that. That was the rule. At least one flannel per person per capita.
Yep,
that's the rule. It's FPC, flannel per capita.
Portland, Oregon had way more than everybody else.
Portland, Oregon, high above the national average of FPC.
Is that where they were for? No, Clueless was in California. Never mind. I'm thinking
Clueless was California.
10 Things I Hate About You was Portland, I think.
I was gonna say Kurt Cobain was in Seattle and Washington. The grunge scene.
Oh, with the flannels. Yeah, I wasn't sure.
Flannel. There you go. Yeah, I was thinking flannel, grunge, 90s.
Okay.
Flannel. Yeah, FPC.
Yep.
But Erin and Sai start chit-chatting about Jenna, and even Sai's kind of taken aback. And I think that everyone was taken aback as far as the gravity of the situation. They're confused how it got to that point where it's like, I don't want anything to do with her. I don't want her friendship. She hasn't been a friend to me. I've been giving it to her, but she hasn't reciprocated in any way, shape, or form. Again, to make these claims, we would have had to see more evidence on both sides, like evidence of a flourishing friendship and then evidence of a lacking friendship from Jenna. I haven't really seen all of that, so it's hard to really say one way or the other. And judging off of people's reactions, like that's all we have, right? I can judge off reactions now. Sai is shocked. Jenna later is shocked. So I'm like, all right, well, something's not adding up here for me. I don't know if people are just playing dumb or there's just not enough evidence. I'm pointing to the latter. There's not enough evidence. And I think the root of it comes out, though. I don't think this has to do with Jenna. I think it has to do with where Erin is in her life at the moment. And yes, she has a lot on her plate, and that's okay. She's got the shit with Abe. Like, yeah, that's serious. He lied to you for years. That's a big deal. You got the shit with your mom. She's going through chemo. That's really heavy. The kids are driving you nuts. Like, they're all real problems. I'm not taking away from that. But I guess for me, if you hadn't had a friendship with Jenna Lyons until last year, and you're going through all these major life events at the same time, wouldn't you confide in somebody you've known for a very long time? Wouldn't you confide in somebody closer to you than Jenna? Because if it's somebody that doesn't even know that they've mishandled their friendship with you, I just feel like that's not somebody that you would expect to hear from when you're going through all of these things. You would expect to hear from people that you've known for years and years and years, because these are all very serious problems. I'm not saying that Jenna doesn't care. I'm saying maybe Jenna doesn't know she's supposed to care.
It's a valid question.
You know what I mean?
I wish I had an answer for you, but
You don't, and you never will. That's the thing with this show. You never will, because Brynn and Jenna are chit-chatting, and she brings up Sai, and it's what I said earlier. And Brynn's like, well, be careful. And I appreciate that Jenna's at least like, can I form my own friendships and opinions about people without, like, because I agree with that. I don't appreciate when people give the be careful about a friendship, especially on these shows, because it's like, well, be careful of what? You have to be careful of everybody and how you move around them. So like the foreshadowing of a friendship is always a bad move. I think it looks way worse on the person that's saying, be careful with her. It's like, all right, well, whatever. Like, what am I supposed to do with that? Am I supposed to go over to side and be like, hey, Brynn told me to be careful, so go fuck yourself. I'm out. Like, what's the end goal there? But at the same time, if Brynn's just trying to be messy a little bit, like, all right,
fine. I think that's what she's really trying to do. And I think because she got knocked down so hard after the second episode, she's at least coming back and trying to be a little bit messy and trying to spread things out there, because she knows and she heard from Erin that Sai and Jenna are close. So then she goes to Jenna and says, be careful about Sai because she could do this or that. Still not really sure what exactly Sai did to invoke this sort of reaction from Brynn, but you know what? Here we are. I can appreciate that a little bit. At least she's trying, but you can't do that with somebody like Jenna. You might be able to get away with it with Erin, who will indulge you in that. You might be able to get away with that with maybe Jessel, or even if it's somebody else going to Sai. Like, they'll talk to you about it and try to find out what's going on. But Jenna is not the person that you do that with.
She's not going to get into it.
She just truly does not care enough, because she's not that close with Sai. She's not going to be like, oh, well, maybe I shouldn't tell her my secrets. Jenna's not telling her secrets. Jenna's just not. She's keeping everything close to the vest, and people that she actually cares about. She's not going to tell Sai what's going on. She's going to leave it. She's going to ignore it. She doesn't care. Even when she's talking to Abe in like a few seconds here, when Abe drops the ball and says, yeah, you know what? You might want to talk to my wife because it seems like things are going on. Jenna's like, well, what the hell's going on? I have no fucking clue what's going on.
So there's tension. She goes, is she have tension? He's like, no. She goes, okay, then. I'm like, no.
She just moves
grill
on.
Abe. Yeah, grill Abe.
Grill Abe, because Abe is a blabbermouth at this point, and he's going to tell you everything. Instead, he goes, you know what? Maybe I should go get a drink. And she's like, yeah, why don't you go get a drink?
Have more mezcal. Haha. No, fucking hold him to the fire. Like, get something out of Abe and use it against Erin. And then Erin's now pissed at Abe for talking to you. You're pissed at Erin for not talking to you. Now you have a little trouble of brewing, and now it's fun to watch. I get in real life you don't want to do that because it's going to cause tension in your actual life that you don't want. This is a TV show that we need this stuff. That's how these shows function. No, it's not functional. It's dysfunctional, but that's why we watch. But you get a quick montage of Rebecca Minkoff just being boring as shit because Brynn's weirdly, she keeps trying to push her to drink. That bothers me too. Like, someone says no, just fucking leave it alone. I don't know why people like this drink. It's fun.
And like the only good thing to come from that is that Brynn says she's boring as shit. So I want her to actually be like somewhat entertaining. There's other ways to do that, but you know, in a nutshell, yes, she is very boring.
She's extremely boring.
Absolutely nothing. Just
cue the boring montage. It's her like talking about her headband making her nose look big, and like, what else did she say? There's like two other things where it was just like, what do you do here?
Nothing.
Like, why are you here? Why are you holding a fucking apple? Like,
it is really hard to underperform on this cast because we have grievances with everybody not sharing and not doing anything. Somehow Rebecca Minkoff is doing negative. Like
she's below the Mendoza line. Like, she's not even close to it.
Nope.
But the whole group gets together and Erin's talking about Jenna and how she feels about her now. So she has now talked to everybody. This is important because it should garner a much stronger response from Jenna. She's now talked to everybody in the group before Jenna's even aware that there is a problem, because it immediately cuts over to Jenna with Abe, and Abe's talking about this underlying tension, and Jenna's like, what are you talking about? I didn't know there was tension. And Abe's like, oh, there's not. And she's like, okay, bye, which isn't fun at all. But now you've literally gotten proof of Jenna doesn't know. Erin's been talking shit to everybody. That should warrant a response. That should piss her off. Why are you not talking to me about this? It doesn't, because Jenna and Erin sit down and Erin tells her, like, I just feel different about us being friends. I don't want to be close. She gets so over the top immediately. I'm like, what did she do to you? Where you want to cut all ties because she didn't send you a text message? That to me points more to Erin's, where she's at headspace wise at the moment. She's just, again, going through it. All right, I can appreciate that. Jenna's response to it is simply, I don't want to do this. You have to do this. Okay? This is what they pay you for. This is why we watch you. Every time you get into some kind of altercation on these shows, it's, I don't want to do this. Or we'll cut to a confessional of, I don't want this drama. You have to bring something. Okay? I get that there's people on these shows that can skate by as being the cool one. But the cool one has to have big moments where you're reminded of, oh, that's why they're the cool one, because you don't fuck with them. Jenna Lyons gets by on just being Jenna Lyons. Once again, I was Jenna Lyons' biggest supporter. Let's not forget. And I'm sitting here going, what are you doing? This was handed to you on a silver platter. You just walked over to a group of women talking shit about you because Erin is at the helm of it, trying to talk shit about you, being a bad friend. You didn't know about it. You just talked to her husband. It's the first time you've heard about it from her husband, who's trying to push the drama. You didn't engage with him. You come over to Erin and immediately just take full accountability, which is fine, I guess. But you're like, you know what? I'm just a bad friend sometimes, and I need to check in more. And I apologize for that. The Uber issue comes up out of fucking nowhere. We're still not entirely sure what happened with this Uber, why it's such a sticking point. We don't make nearly what these women do, not even close. They probably make more in a month than we do in 5 years. Like, it's probably not even comparable. But we're talking about $270, something like that. It's under $300. We will send it to you just to move the fuck on. Like, this is not a good sticking. If that Uber was $1,200 or $2,000, okay, let's talk about this Uber and why we didn't pay for it.
Uber Blade, and you were taking the helicopter out of the Hamptons to go back to the city. Okay, maybe.
And everyone shorted you on the bill. That's interesting. This sounds like if you and I were doing a show in New York City and it was peak Uber hours, and somehow the Uber to the airport was like $200, which happens, by the way, to normal people. And if I stiffed you on that bill, that's a different story. But these women stiffing each other on a $200 bill doesn't hit the same. I'm like, this is such a stupid point. And at the end of this scene, everyone's cool. It's my bad. I'll be a better friend. It's all good. Thanks for checking in now. Like, we'll figure this out. That's it. Period.
That's all Erin wanted. All Erin wanted was to go about it this way and just get Jenna to say, you know what, I'll text you a little more often. I'll check in here and there. Okay.
And she does.
Great.
And
we
that's
can
it.
be friends again. All right.
We
cool.
don't address or acknowledge the fact that she was just talking to everybody else about it before you. We don't address the fact that she's going behind your back to have these conversations. You don't address the fact, Erin, that despite the fact that she's saying sorry now, that she hasn't been present in your quote unquote friendship for months now, while she's still giving the time of day to Sai, who has been walking around bad mouthing her around the city. That is a trivial sticking point. It does work if you want to take it to that level, but again, people don't want to ruffle feathers, and it's just it's disappointing. It's really disappointing because we've seen over and over and over again potential moments that could work in creating some kind of drama, in creating something entertaining or exciting. Whether that's, like, you don't have to fight with people to be entertaining, but you have to take advantage of moments that are given to you to cause a bit of a stir. It doesn't mean you have to wreck your friendship with somebody, but calling somebody out isn't wrecking your friendship. And just because they call you out, Jenna, doesn't mean you have to just agree with it. You can say, this is bullshit. We weren't that close. That would be so much more entertaining. If Jenna's like, hold the phone. Like, in what world were we besties? Like, you're delusional. That's fucking interesting. But no, we get, it's okay. I love you. I love you too. Now we're going into next week. What's our storyline that we're supposed to be focused on next week? Ubah and Brynn? Like, that's really it.
Brynn, probably, yeah.
Because now the Sai thing's out the door, really. Like, it doesn't really matter because Sai and Jenna are fine. Jenna and Erin are fine. Ubah and Brynn are having beef, and we watched it go down in the Hamptons. It's really not that deep. Like, Ubah's pissed at Brynn and calls her a snake. Brynn has tried to stir the pot a little bit and got knocked down so hard she's afraid to do it anymore. But nothing's moving. Nothing's moving.
Nothing at all.
Let's just do questions. Let's just get to questions. And then, because we got to do another episode and we get to talk about Salt Lake, which I'm way more excited to talk about.
Oh, yeah.
And it'll perk up my mood quite a bit. But this is a good one from Karen Alina 826. Jen on the phone was just weird. Why is she so awkward? So I liked the phone. I did actually notice, though, when she's uncomfortable, she used the phone to talk to Abe. She's like, well, I didn't know anything about this. And she still has the phone up to her ear. I'm like, is this like an awkward tick? Like, you don't know what to do with your hands, so you're just going to hold the phone up?
Pretty much. That's what I think it was. From Eileen_DNJ, how can we get more Ubah? I don't want more Ubah. I don't care.
Ubah has to do a lot more for me to want more Ubah.
I want her off the show. I want all of them off the show, but she's on the chopping block first.
From Kamare Morales, IFBB Pro. Sorry if I mispronounced any of that, but maybe a hot take, but I don't have a problem with the new RHONY. I'm 31 and they're relatable. So let me dissect this one. I was going to say digest this one. Let me dissect this one. I think we were all excited about this cast last year after a mediocre season, but I think a big part of it being enjoyable, at least a little bit, was the fact that they are relatable, that they are closer to what our generation behaves like and acts like. And I think that was a bright spot for this show. I think that they lean too heavy on that, and that's where we're lacking now. So yes, I agree, they are more relatable, but they also need to be able to tap into the crazy of the Housewives world, which they are not doing. So you're not wrong in saying they're more relatable. And no, there's nothing wrong with you enjoying the show. It's great. We want these shows to be enjoyable, so at least somebody's enjoying it. But at the same time, because they are so relatable, I feel like they're falling short in, we don't need to be 100% relatable to the Housewives. We have to be reminded of why they are upper echelon. They are high society. They do have a lot more money than us. They do have crazier lives than us. Like, that's the whole reason we watch the show. If not, I could just check in with my friends and say, hey, what are you guys up to today? And that would be similar to what I'm watching.
Pretty much, yeah.
From John Critelli, why aren't they asking about Scientology? She's not boring. They're just asking the wrong questions. We've been saying this since episode 1. We don't know. I have no idea.
Yeah,
maybe they got threatened by the Church of Scientology. Maybe Tom Cruise told them to keep their mouth shut.
Like, then she shouldn't be on the show if she can't talk about Scientology.
That's all we want from her. That's all we want from her, is to talk about the Scientology.
It's the lowest hanging fruit, and I will never get, if we don't go back to it, I will never get over Brynn asking, how do we handle this in the media if we're asked? How about you just fucking ask her? Like,
and let her worry about the media.
Yeah.
I don't know. Let's do one more from Christy Jedlicki. What would it take to salvage this season? At this point, I do not know. We're never short for throwing shit against the wall here at the Bravo Bros. We like to make crazy claims. Yeah. Cheating scandal. That seems to work in most shows. Look at Vanderpump. It was horrible until a cheating scandal. Then it became the most watched show like in the world.
Yep.
Yeah. So cheating scandal. We never root for that kind of shit, but that might
we're getting
move the needle a little bit. I really don't know. It's going to take a massive event to turn this show around, and that would also jumpstart the cast into learning, like, you're not going to be friends with all these people at the end of this. Like, you're not supposed to. You're just in life. You're not going to be friends with anybody. It's amplified here. You don't need to end the season being on good terms with everyone and being concerned about that during filming of the season. That's the kind of shit you worry about in the break in between the show and the reunion. How do I make it right? Or how do I, like, skate by on this one because I fucked up or they fucked up, whatever. You don't worry about that during the season because it leads to manufactured television, which is what we're watching right now. This is all too manufactured, ho-hum, drab, and boring.
Yep.
And that's it. And so I don't know how you salvage this. I don't know if it is salvageable, which is a bummer. We were rooting hard for this show.
Seems like a long time ago.
Long time ago. Many moons ago, we were rooting for this show, and now it's gone so low that we don't know, bro. But anywho, You got anything else? Can we go talk about Roslick now so I can cheer up?
Anymore, yeah.
I don't want to do this anymore.
Nope.
Well, Bros are out of here.
Bye.
Bye-bye now.